Today we're going to talk about micro or nano scrubbing bubbles. Hey guys, so today we're going to talk about nano or micro scrubbing bubbles, also called the bubbling method, and a bunch of other things I've seen online. Between YouTube and Reef to Reef, there's a huge thread on it. But either way, a bunch of different names, all do the same thing. So most people when they have a tank, they do go through all this work to make sure there's no bubbles from their skimmer and no bubbles in the tank. So it's kind of funny to think they're purposely putting bubbles back in. So why would you want to do this? Well, there's a few potential benefits. One of them is that extra oxygen will help drive out CO2, increase your pH. A second one is it will help keep your tank clean and your water cleaner by taking out organics. If you think about how your skimmer works, you're creating tons of tiny bubbles that organics attach to and they pop in the cup, so you're essentially removing it. Now with micro bubbles, you're doing the same thing but in your tank. So if there's bits of algae, bits of waste in your sand bed, organics, these little bubbles will attach to it and they'll rise it to the surface, will go through your overflow and into your filter sock. So one thing you might notice is you have to clean your filter sock a little more often when doing this. So there's a few different ways to do this, but I'll show you how I personally go about this. Normally I do this at night on the reverse light cycle, but we'll just turn it on now to give you guys a quick look at how it works. So majority of people will put the air stone in the baffles. So under the last baffle, so the big bubbles go up and the little bubbles are the only ones that make it under. Now, as you can see, my baffle flows over the top, so that doesn't work. So what I've done is I put a little tiny air pump in the back and I hooked it up right beside a power head. So all the large bubbles go straight to the surface and pop. And the tiny bubbles will get pushed around the tank and sucked into the overflow. They're kind of hard to see, but you can see little tiny bubbles floating around in there. And they get sucked into the return pump, which in turn brings it back up and out the overflow. Now if you shine a flashlight on it, you can kind of see a bunch of little bubbles coming out. They're honestly very small, like they're nano bubbles, like they're hard to actually see. So I could potentially run this all day and you almost wouldn't even notice, except for the odd little bubble floating around. But as bubbles attach to stuff, they're going to float to the surface. Sometimes you'll see a bit of kind of cloudy stuff on the surface, like if I look down here, you see little bits of stuff on the top of the water, if it's showing up on camera. Get the flashlight on it, but they will float all the way to the overflow, go back down, get stuck in the filter sock. So you will have to clean a little more. But overall, there is some good potential benefits of doing this bubbling method. Now, if you don't have the baffle in there, I've seen people try to rig up all kinds of weird systems, but honestly, the easiest thing for me has been just a power head and a wooden air stone. Now to do this, you will need an air pump. I just got this little tiny guy off Amazon for about 25-30 bucks. Sticks on the back of the glass. Now you do want to have this outside of your tank, or outside of your stand rather, just to make sure you get fresher air. And with this, these little guys are awesome because they're silent. Like you cannot hear it over the bubbles. So they're very, very quiet, which is, of course, as you know me, that's what I love. And the other key thing is to use a wooden air stone, because these produce much finer bubbles. Now this guy's actually a Core Life one that's made for a little air stone skimmer. And it works pretty darn well for this whole bubbling method. So just a quick recap on the benefits of micro scrubbing bubbles. They'll help keep your water clear. They'll help remove any inorganics out of the water by binding it, taking it out your overflow, and they can potentially help get rid of any algae in your tank. So there's a few major benefits there. I haven't heard of any negatives yet. So far it seems to be doing pretty well in my tank. So I have a question for you guys. If you've been doing the whole nano micro scrubbing bubble thing in your tank, how's it been working out? Let us know in the comments below. Otherwise, if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and be sure to subscribe to keep up to date for more videos from ReefDudes.